Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Yarado Krikorian with the news in English. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, during a press conference held in Brussels, following a conference between the Russian Council and NATO members, expressed hope that NATO commit itself to international law, taking into consideration the dangerous situation in Syria. Lavrov pointed out that Russia and NATO signed a statement regarding Syria's chemical weapons, in addition to discussing the Iranian nuclear file, which will be finally closed and put under international supervision. For his part, NATO Secretary General Fogh Rasmussen stressed that the only solution in Syria is a political one based upon dialogue and Geneva I principles of June 2012, adding that the two sides discussed the preparations underway for holding Geneva II conference. The Russian Foreign Ministry has declared that Minister Sergei Lavrov discussed during his meeting last night with the Saudi intelligence chief Bandar bin Sultan the prospect of holding the Geneva II International Conference on Syria and the Iranian nuclear program. The Russian Foreign Ministry said both sides discussed the developments of the situation in the Near and Middle East, including the crisis in Syria, the Geneva II Conference and the Iranian nuclear program, emphasizing the need to solve critical regional issues on the basis of respecting the UN Charter and international law principles. The Foreign Ministry said reference was made to the prospects of this Russian-Saudi relations and the need to continue bilateral political dialogue in various levels. Russian presidency spokesman Dmitry Peskov had earlier said that President Vladimir Putin yesterday met bin Sultan and discussed with him the situation in Syria in light of the preparations made for the Convention of Geneva II. Russian Foreign Ministry's envoy in the field of human rights, Konstantin Dolgov, called for the release of the nuns who were kidnapped 2 days ago by an armed terrorist group in the monastery of Martakla in Malula of Damascus countryside. Dolgov emphasized the need to clearly condemn the abduction of the nuns. Dolgov's call came after Russian Foreign Ministry called to halt the terrorist attacks on the places of worship and on men of religion in Syria. For its part, the Patriarchate of Moscow and the rest of Russia condemned the abduction of the nuns from the monastery of Martakla, describing it as a barbaric crime. The Pope of the Vatican has addressed an appeal concerning the nuns who had been kidnapped by a terrorist group from Martakla Monastery in the village of Malula in Damascus suburbs, and for all the people who have been kidnapped in Syria. During the public gathering at St. Peter's Square, Pope Francis said, "We are praying for the sisters and all the people who have been kidnapped because of the conflict. Let's continue the prayers and the work for peace." Syria's permanent representative to the UN, Dr. Bashar al-Ja'fari, has affirmed that all the Saudis who came to fight in Syria have done so with the knowledge of the Saudi intelligence and authorities. In a press conference at the UN headquarters, al-Ja'fari made it clear that a large number of them had had death sentences or long-term imprisonment and were set free in return for coming to fight in Syria. Al-Ja'fari added that the majority of them belonged to Al-Qaeda and other terrorist organizations, and that the Saudi authorities now found a way to get rid of them and send them to Syria on the basis of undeclared agreements. Welcome back. 17 people have been killed and 30 others injured following a terrorist attack with missile shells at Al Furqan and the Meridian residential neighborhoods in the city of Aleppo. The Syrian Arab Army eliminated a terrorist group, killing all its members in a nabak of Damascus countryside, pounding all their hideouts and gatherings in the areas of Al-Arqub, Al-Saqi and Al-Zrebat farms, and also in Al-Muftah neighborhood, northeast of the town. Among the terrorists killed were Muhammad Nasif and Muhannad Ashur. In Harasta, Syrian Arab Army clashed with a terrorist group at the outskirts of Al-Thanawiyeh, killing most of the terrorists and destroying their weapons and ammunition. Among the terrorists killed was Isam Swaidan. Units of the Syrian Arab Army eliminated the members of an armed terrorist group by an ambush during an infiltration attempt into Tishreen power station in Damascus suburbs. In Homs, a military source said that Syrian Arab Army destroyed a 60-meter tunnel that stretched between Nizar Qabbani outskirt and Al-Qarabis neighborhood. The terrorist armed groups were preparing to use the tunnel in transporting their weapons. In the eastern countryside of Homs, the villages of Maksar al-Ahsan, Abu al-Alaya and Al-Mas'udiyeh witnessed repeated infiltration attempts by the terrorists who tried to enter from the mountains and the surrounding desert, but the Syrian Arab Army was always there to foil their attempts. In the village of Maksar al-Ahsan, a unit of the Syrian Arab Army is positioned with the task of monitoring the terrorist movements and pounding their gatherings. Also, other Syrian Arab Army units repeatedly repel attempts by the terrorists to infiltrate from Al-Raqqa, Aleppo countryside and Hama countryside to the hills of Al-Mas'udiyeh towards the eastern countryside of Homs. The Hama Ma'arret and Nu'man road is a strategic axis the terrorists have often tried hard to take control of but failed. The road has witnessed violent battles the Syrian Arab Army has waged to clear Syria of terrorism. Many Jabhat al-Nusra members have been eliminated on that road. However, some terrorist groups are still to be found in the western sector of the town of Morak as ongoing battles continue in the area. Meanwhile, normal movement of citizens is observed in the eastern district. On the other hand, traffic and civilians movement has been active in Khan Sheikhoun after being cleared of terrorists. In Idlib, the authorities seized a store in a basement at Ar-Ra'id Mall in which large quantities of various kinds of medicine were hidden and intended to be delivered to the terrorists. The mall owners were covering up by selling accessories for women. According to information that the armed terrorist groups were receiving large quantities of medicine in Idlib countryside, the authorities raided the warehouse of Ar-Ra'id in the area, and after inspecting it, 3 large stores were discovered where different requirements of field hospitals were hidden, including cotton, gauze and injections. The contents of the warehouse were seized and all the workers were arrested. Hezbollah party announced that one of its leaders, Haj Hassan Hillo al-Laqis, was assassinated last night in front of his house in Saint Therese area in Al-Hadath in Beirut while coming back from his work. A statement issued by Hezbollah media office held Israel directly responsible for the assassination, as the Israeli Mossad had tried unsuccessfully to assassinate him before. The statement pointed out that the Israeli enemy must be held accountable for the crime, adding that Martyr al-Laqis has spent his youth and rest of his life serving in the resistance, as he offered one of his sons a martyr during the Israeli war against Lebanon in 2006. In the latest developments in Tripoli, the Lebanese army was deployed in the main streets, side roads and the intersections of the city. The army also carried out several raids. In the morning, life returned to normal in Tripoli as several shops and businesses were open, while schools and universities resumed their work in most of the areas. Finally, and back to our local news, in Latakia, the St. Barbara feast has been celebrated in Latakia amidst prayers for peace to prevail in Syria.
All world churches in general and Eastern churches in particularly have agreed to honor the martyr Saint Barbara and to follow her guidance. Happy day for everybody in our dear country. God bless Syrian youth and save Syria. Happy year for you and for our dear country Syria. God protect our Syrian National Army. Saint Barbara's Day brought rain and hope. All Syrians are waiting for peace eagerly to come back to the Syrian land. We are an optimistic people. We like joy in all circumstances. This helps Syria to be strong. Congratulations for all Syrians. I like to say I wish the coming days to be better. Happy year for everybody in Syria. God bless Syria. Happy year for everybody in our dear country Syria. Joy should be existed and we should challenge all difficulties because without joy and happiness we cannot go on. In spite of the huge sadness that prevails in Syria, Syrian people are trying to snatch some joy and happiness. Saint Barbara's Day is a chance to remember a peaceful life that has been the title of Syria. For the English news, the Syrian channel, Ranim El-Basha.
With this, we end our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Now to the latest business and market news with Nariman Qassam, but after a short break.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. In its session today, under the chairmanship of Assembly Speaker Dr. Jihad Al-Laham, the People's Assembly discussed the report of the Budget and Accounts Committee on the state's general budget draft law for 2014, estimated to be 1,390 billion Syrian pounds, with 6 billion Syrian pounds more than last year's budget. Head of the Budget and Accounts Committee, Hussein Hassoun, said this budget came amidst extraordinary circumstances and highly difficult challenges in reference to the unjust siege targeting the citizens' livelihood. The report called on the government to support the needy through the Social Assistance Fund and adopt development programs to support rural women, small projects and professions, and the less developed areas, to reconsider the tax policies and start a new contemporary system that realizes social justice, prevents tax evasion and consolidates confidence between the citizens and the state. The committee also called for supporting the Ministry of Information and confronting the media assault Syria has been exposed to by certain satellite channels that have contributed to Syrian bloodshed. In cooperation with the Syrian Investment Commission, the Ministry of Environment has opened a talk seminar under the title Green Investment. To meet the demands of sustainable development, the seminar focuses on launching green energy projects and green architecture, asserting their importance to develop and support national economy. Director General of the Free Zones establishment declared that the establishment prepares a plan for setting up a lot of pieces of land in Latakia government, taking into account establishing 74 portions of land that are allocated to be affected industrial zones, in addition to expanding the free zone to include 109 pieces of land in Latakia governorate. The director also pointed out that the establishment seeks to grant new facilities that attract new investments in the free zones. The executive manager of Damascus Securities Exchange asserted that the number of investment companies will increase in Syria after the crisis. The manager also indicated that these companies encourage the investment in the Syrian stocks market, noting the diversity of investors like long-term long-term financial and short-term financial investors. On the other hand, the total trading value of Damascus Securities Exchange has reached 5 million Syrian pounds, distributed on 33 deals. The Director of Administration Affairs at the Ministry of Industry asserted that the affiliated companies to the ministry need more than 2,000 job opportunities after the crisis, noting that the sectors of the textile and chemical industries need the most, as these sectors were mostly affected by the terrorist acts as it spreads on a wider geographical area. The pieces of crude oil advanced for a fourth day, the longest rising streak since August, as data showed that the U.S. crude inventories fell. Futures climbed 1.4%. Brent for January settlement advanced 40 cents to reach $113 a barrel. European stocks declined for a fourth day as investors awaited U.S. jobs services data to gauge the timing of the Federal Reserve's pairing of stimulus. U.S. futures were little changed while Asian shares fell. Gold traded near the lowest level in 5 months, as signs of improving economic growth in the U.S. reinforced speculations that the Federal Reserve may taper monetary stimulus in the coming months. Gold for immediate delivery fell 0.7% to reach $1,215 an ounce. The dollar strengthened towards a 6-month high against the yen before U.S. reports that economists said will show companies boosted hiring last month and service industries expanded. Ladies and gentlemen, this was our economic news for today. Thank you for watching. Goodbye. Have a nice day.